Hello, everyone. Guess what day today is, Brian?
What's today?
Your booth graphics are due day.
Woo! Booth graphic due date. It's like needs theme music. Oh man, let's go. All about it. That's I know it's everyone's favorite day. I know because my email is exploding. That's how I know it's everyone's favorite.
Yeah, everyone's been waiting all year, Brian, for you to look at their booths.
Yes. Please let me know, Brian. Is today truly booth graphic due date day? And the answer is yes, folks.
Yeah.
Have no fear. It absolutely is. So we've made it. Oh boy. Well, okay, let's rock and roll. I see people rolling on in here, so that's great. Hello again, everyone. I'm excited to have you all. Let's go through some updates. First and foremost, just putting it out there, I do want to say thank you to everyone. I have been going through just our tracker to make sure that we are getting graphics submitted, and it looks like so many of you between yesterday and today have submitted. I'm seeing I mean, yikes, there's got to be 50 of you that have submitted overnight, so I appreciate that. We still have quite a bit though that we're waiting on, and so it's just an important reminder that it is booth graphics day. So about 117 of you are still waiting on your graphics to submit. Oh, and I'm even seeing some. Actually, no, that's a lot less. There's maybe 100 of you that we're waiting on. So just remember, today is the day. We'll go through it on this webinar, but just to say it up front for those of you that weren't a part of it last week's messaging or missed my email, today's day is important because after today, if it's not submitted, there is a late fee. And that late fee has nothing to do with SaaStr. I'd love to blame SaaStr and say, yes, SaaStr, how dare you? But it's not us. Frankly, it has nothing to do with us. Our printer is the one that's issuing the late fee. And so that is something where we don't have any say on it. It is something that's important. So please, 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 with a capital P, with an underline in bold, maybe slightly italicized, please make sure your booth graphics are getting submitted today. The details on how to do that are literally in the spec document. You're going to drop them right into the Dropbox, and by God, they're going to go right to our printer. So just please, 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 and we're going to do this again in about 2 seconds in the slide deck, but please, please, please make sure that your graphics are getting submitted today. All right. Let's do it, shall we? Do you want me to share my screen, Ms. Amelia?
No, it's just wait. Hello, Chris.
I hear you. You're here. So as we pull up our screen and our doc here, I'm Brian. Just remember, I lead all SaaStr's sponsorships and revenue. And many of you have spoken to me on the phone. If you have not spoken to me, I promise at annual, I want to speak to you. I want to know you. I want to meet you. So let's make sure we do that. And this is my beloved colleague, Amelia.
Beloved.
Oh yeah, everyone loves you.
Hello, everyone. For those who may not know me, I'm the SaaStr SVP here. I help head up our marketing, events, and production teams. So happy to connect for our sponsors as we're getting closer to SaaStr Annual. So without further ado, we'll go ahead and get started so that we have time for Q&A today. Hopefully you can see my screen. So as always, if you need anything from any one of us, all of our emails are listed here. I know you guys have seen this because we've gotten more emails in the last week, but that's what it's for. So if you need any one of us, these are your main POCs. As always, if you need an answer the fastest, I highly recommend emailing Sponsor Success first. So just sponsorsuccess@sastrinc.com, because they can help route it to the right person. Because sometimes, I love Kevin, but he may not know how much it is for power off the top of his head. I don't even know off the top of my head. Sponsor Success is a good one to reach out to. Anything speakers related for those who do have content, usually best to go to speakers@sastrinc.com And then my email's on here. I am actually ai@SaaStr.com. It's not like a artificial bot of me. It's just my initials. It's me. So it does work. Some of you have emailed me there. I've responded. Cool. We're less than 60 days out from SaaStr Annual. It's September 13th through 15th. Just a quick comment here. I know some of you have reached back out to our team saying that some of the room blocks are full. So just to clarify, if you've not booked your hotel yet, you can still do so. Some of our room blocks, the rates are sold out. So Crown Plaza is like completely sold out because it's closest. There's a few nearby. There's like a Marriott. There's like actually a couple of Marriotts nearby, and then there's some other ones that we do still have discounted rates at that you can book still. So we can go through that later if you guys have not booked yet on this call. But also just to know, like, you can still book at some of these outside of our discounted rate. It just means our discounted rate is completely gone and full and has been used. But if you do like Google hotel search for like San Mateo hotels, which I just did this morning, there's still a lot of hotels in the area that you can book at that are still reasonable rates for now, though I know they're starting to go up. So definitely look at that. So then for today, we really wanted to go through some reminders and deadlines, as one of the deadlines is today. So as Brian was mentioning, booth graphics are indeed due today. So you do need to submit them by 5 o'clock Pacific time. So I know there's a few questions in the Q&A, like, what's the latest I can send it today? 5 o'clock Pacific time today to be considered on time. If it's 5:01, it's late. You know how people say that thing, like if you're on time, or if you're early, you're on time? That's how it is with booth graphics. 5:01, late. 5 o'clock, right on time. 5:01, late. 5:02, late. So, Pacific time, folks. So it's currently 10 a.m. here, 10:09. If you need a little time conversion, you've got a few hours until 5 p.m. Pacific. You can do it, but it is 5 p.m. Pacific today. I believe in you all. You all can get your graphics in on time. If for some reason you're like, you're sweating it, you're stressing it, you're not going to make it on time, please don't stress. You can just pay this booth graphic late fee. It's a nominal fee. It doesn't go to us. It goes to the printer since they have to print this later, which are all listed here. So in the case of where you think you want to just pay this late fee, you don't want to stress it, you want to turn your graphics in tomorrow or Friday, you can do that. If for those, because I'm getting questions in the Q&A, like if I am going to submit late and pay this late fee, when do I need to submit my graphics by? The answer is still ASAP, so that we can make sure that what you want to design can actually be printed the way you want it to be printed, so that we can get you approved. So that's what's called giving you approved. So anyone who has submitted, or everyone who's submitting today, will get a proof back of like what your graphics will look like laid out on the booth for placement only, so that you can say like, yeah, I actually like that, or like, oh, I actually don't like how that looks, and I want to change something. And then you give your final approval by the 12th. So if you are going to pay this late fee and you are going to submit late, you still do need to submit by August 3rd, which is only about a week away from now. So you still do need to submit it within the next week. It only buys you about a week of time. For some of you, you might be on this call being like, I'm a goal, $700 is worth it for an extra week of time. And you can do that, but know also like our team will be emailing you constantly after today if your booth graphics are not in for an ETA, to make sure we can get you in as soon as possible. Because again, we do want to make sure that your booth graphics can get printed and they look the way that you want them to. And sometimes that can take longer, so that your final approvals are all in by the 12th. Hold on, I'm just gonna check the questions here. Just to make sure. Okay, some people are asking, have I specifically submitted? And we will get to those at the end. Okay, cool. So hopefully this all makes sense for folks. If you're submitting today, you're like, my designer is literally furiously, clicking over the computer in Adobe Suite, creating these booth graphics. Be sure you follow these artwork guidelines. If you do have a design team, the best way to do it is just to send the native files using like, Adobe Creative Cloud. If you're doing it in some other platform, that's fine too. Just send a PDF for your submissions. all the artwork guidelines you guys again should have. I'm hoping you're just finishing up your booths, not starting them today, and then submitting them. So just as a reminder, if you have not submitted yet or you're in the process of finalizing yours, a few things we have seen from people who have submitted their graphic. Always keep in mind these items when you are designing. They are on the bleed lines of the artwork, but I still see people like put things in front of the counter. I'm like, your counter is gonna block that. I've seen people put like a fake TV on their design. You don't need to put a fake TV. You just need to follow the bleed lines and put your design there. With this counter too, you can decide on site which side you want it to be on. So just keep that in mind as you're designing. That's not on the bleed lines because it's not on this back wall. So just something to keep in mind there that we've seen is like making sure your counter, you know, if you're putting text all the way down here where the cloud is, people are probably not going to see it if you're putting your counter on this side. Or if you're putting your counter on this side, then like you can put stuff here, but like also if there's people standing in your booth, you may not see like text that hits like kind of the bottom third. So just a few things to keep in mind there. Also, it's up to you what you put up here. This is just a sample. Like you can put your logo there on the top center above the TV. You don't have to. Some people are, some people aren't. Some people are using this counter, but just try and visualize it all together if you can with this layout, because that is how it's going to print and that is how you're going to get approved back from Freeman. I have somebody asking in the chat, great question. Can we choose not to have the TV? Absolutely. You just need to tell us that when you submit. You just say, hey, I actually don't want this monitor. You can design the full. You can also say, I don't want that back cabinet, but most people need it for storage. You could say you don't want this front one, but most people like to stand at it. But yeah, you could say that you don't want these things and let us know so that you can fully design that back wall. Great question. For those who are finishing their designs, again, just to my point earlier with a more visual example, it is, oops, sorry, let me go back. So this is, again, what it looks like of like some people put a tagline up here, some people put, you know, their logo above the monitor, some people put text up here because you can still read it, and keep like the front counter kind of simple or the back, like lower design kind of simpler so you can see the front counter. So just trying to help you guys visualize as you're putting the final touches on your booths of how they kind of like come into fruition and for to play. Also keep in mind we are outside, so I've seen some like darker colors on booths, like a lot of like all blacks with like white pops of color. There's a few of those actually, so not that it will not look good. I think if you do the contrast right, it can look good. It just keep in mind when you print anything that's a lot of black, like it's always going to be a little risky. So that's just with anything in life where you print a lot of black ink. So yeah, these are examples from last year. These are some of the graphics that have already been submitted. So you can see like they kind of like left space for their monitor here for their little rocket ship to go through. They put their text up here so that, you know, nothing's really blocking. It doesn't matter if people stand in front of these palm trees. They've kept like kind of the lower background, more of a gradient. So if people or counters or puppies are standing in front of it, it's not going to block their design and the text. So just some reminders there as you're finishing up. Great question in the chat from Lisa at B. Any suggestions on what we can do with the glare on our monitors? So yeah, that's a good question. Let me go back here. I will say if you do a highly contrasted booth loop for your TVs, that will help. You're not going to always be in the glare all day long. For some of you who are newer, or for those who are returning from last year, the sun moves during the day. So depending on where you are in the sponsor hall and where the sun is hitting your tent, will determine the amount of like these people really don't have glare because they're in the shade. This one has a bit more glare because it's in the sun and it's like mid-afternoon when we took this photo. But I will say it will help if you have like high contrast things that you're doing on your digital booth loop. So by high contrast, I mean like if you do like a whatever purple background, white text, make it easier to read. I also know like video has worked kind of better playing a video versus having it be static on the screen because sometimes it's like glaring out and your computer is like frozen on the same thing. It kind of trips the monitor a little bit there. So great question. Not something to be thinking about today of what to put on your monitors because booth graphics are due, but something to be thinking about soon of what you'll be displaying on these monitors. Anything else to add there, Brian, before we go to the next one?
I think if you choose not to use a monitor, it's also okay. It's completely your choice. It could be a strong choice depending on how you're building out your graphic. The big thing that I would say is, and as I'm reviewing, I review as many of these as I possibly can. The big thing I would say is that the printer's really, really good at making these like really high def, beautiful printings. So like,
Yeah.
don't be afraid to put something that's really eye-catching on these, because they're going to print really beautifully. So just like keep that in mind. If you're going to do one tone, two tone color and go to market, that's fine. You can do that if that's your style and that's what you want to do. But if you also want to, if you want to put like something that's a little bit more catchy or a little bit more graphic, like it will show really nice. So don't be afraid to just get a, I know most of you have already built here, so don't go crazy. I guess don't go nuts, and don't go try to throw out everything. But I guess what I'm saying is that
I haven't seen
will
anyone go like, I've seen people go creative. I haven't seen someone go like
super two-tone. I saw one or two super two-tone. I saw one or two super two-tone, which is fine if it's on brand for you. Like I'm here for it. I just want to make sure you know that it will print nice. So that's all.
Yeah, it will. Yeah, it's a good call out. Okay, so those are the goals. Again, this is all of what's included with your booth. For some reason, you want to double check these specs before you submit today. The link is there for the full specs. You're really designing this back wall, this front counter, and the side panel. These side panels you can design two. Some people are designing two, some people are just designing one and saying, I want the same thing on both sides. That's fine. Just if you don't upload two of these side panels, we'll assume you want the same panel on both. So just calling that out for folks. And something we've seen in the submissions. Okay. On to super golds. These are slightly different because there's slightly more things in the booth. And so they have this like pop-out panel, which is cool. And these are samples of last year. So again, it looked slightly different last year with some of the furniture. But you can see how, this design really incorporated, like this cabinet goes here, this TV goes here. And so their design is very left aligned, and they repeated some of their main tagline onto their front counter.
I will call out on this one. The one thing and like that I will flag too, even for some of my sponsors, you'll notice that they put 4 bullet points on their back wall. But even on this picture, it's hard to read.
Yeah.
So just like keep in mind, larger text is going to be
always better
for this. Smaller text is going to be hard to read.
Yep, agreed. So yes, that is a good call out. Yeah, you want to make your text like billboard size, like really good. Like it's a good, like if you have a sub tagline, right? Because this is PaySafe, so it's plug into PaySafe. They have like a sub tagline plus their bullet points. Like, yeah, you can read those when you're in the booth. Like, so if you're good with that, you're good with that. If you want to make this bigger, like maximize your revenue with integrated payments, like you could take up this entire space so that people could see it, like when they're standing outside your booth.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, good call out there. So yeah, this is like an example from this year. Like you can see how they've designed it, and they've actually mocked it so that they can visualize the space of like, here's their front counter. This is going to be their pop out wing, as I call it, the wing. And they have left aligned their text and made it nice and clear and legible so that people can read it from afar. So just if it's helpful, we want to show you guys some examples of people who've already submitted. Okay. So coming into the super goals here, there's a few questions on the side panels for super goals. We'll try and answer them as we go. Which ones are the side panels in the specs for the super gold? So these are the side panels. There's G2, G3, which are like the pop-out panels. And then FG1 is like the left-hand panel because they all pop out on the right. So just one thing to keep in mind there. And these panels are right here on this spec for the, sorry, anonymous attendee. I don't know who you are, but anonymous sponsor. Those specs are here for these panels. There's also a question on, will the side panels be harder to read? People have honestly, like, they put their social icons here. I'll go back to the gold sample here. You can see like they aren't skinny and narrow, right? Like on the sides. So what I've seen most people do this year is either like, you can kind of see it here. With Shortcut, like they actually just extended their design out so that it creates kind of like a 3D element. Some people are just putting like their logo really big on this side. I will say if you put a lot of text on the side, to Brian's point, it can be smaller and harder to read just because of the nature of how big this actual panel is. So that's one where we've seen people either just like extend their design out, impacted the same thing. They just kind of like extended their beach scene out here. Or some people just put like a plain text background with like their name really big on it. So yeah, I don't recommend putting anything that's like super, super important on those side panels. It's more of like a additional thing, which is why like Shaman has like their social icons on the side. A monitor related question for folks. Oh, sorry. Couple more questions on the Super Gold. You guys can keep them coming in. So I'm going to go here. It says, so the Super Gold has a pop out. So yeah, this area, G2, G3, does actually hover above your back panel. So you can see how like they've designed this like blue wall back here, and the screen actually pops out above it. So yes, it has a pop out technically. I call it a wing. It's a pop out. It pops out though. So yeah, it's a 3D like element. So yeah, it does go over. So if you have a Super Gold, yeah, make sure you don't design something like that goes behind that pop out. Cool. Another related question on the booths is if we want to have a monitor on a monitor stand instead of the back wall, can we do that? It does depend on the size of your booth. Just because anything you have has to fit within the parameters of your booth. So if you have a gold, it's not really going to fit a monitor on a stand here, because you can think about like two people basically standing here. It's going to take up the space of your booth. And then in a Super Gold, you don't really have room because there's the tables here. So I would say if you want to do that, Lisa, let our team know, because you might have to switch around some of the furniture in here to do like smaller furniture, monitor on a stand versus monitor back here. It's really, personal. I call it personal preference. Okay, cool. Is there a right side panel behind the wing in the Super Gold? So the panel behind this wing in the Super Gold is FG2. So this whole entire back wall is behind this panel. So you do need to design it so that whatever you're designing here on this back wall does not get obstructed by this panel. And again, they'll lay it out to you once you submit, so that you can make any changes if anything gets cut off. There. Okay, cool. There's also a question like, what happens if I submit before we move on to platinum? What happens if I submit and I don't like it? So yeah, this is why we have these deadlines that we do. It's for any typos that are getting catched, which we've caught some. It happens. Like catching any typos, seeing if anything gets cut off weirdly, like seeing if you like how your design is gonna look, like as a proof all together, right, with all the elements in the booth. So yeah, once you submit today, you'll get approved back in the next week or so, just depending on when you submitted. And then you'll get a chance to change it before your final approval on the 12th. That's why it's due today, so that you have time. If you, for some reason, need to change it, you have the time to change it before your final approval on the 12th. Okay, so then coming into platinums, these are a little bit bigger, a little bit different. There's more monitors on these, which is cool. And there is a huge front counter here. So when you're designing this one, for any platinums who are on this call, I've seen most of you like kind of centralize your designs and then use these two monitors. Again, if you're a platinum and you're like, I only want one monitor, I don't know which one, just say the left one, and you want to put text here, again, just let us know and say like, hey, I just want one monitor on this side. That is configurable. And yeah, make sure you got some nice prime real estate in the platinum for this front welcome counter. So definitely use it. I've seen some folks already submit with like cool taglines or like cool designs. So yeah, definitely that's what it looked like last year. So you can see this front and center. Yeah, good reminder from Ryan to just keep any text really, really big.
You can see it.
Really big, really big. So you can get some space, or the next row. Cool. That's platinums. Cool. There's a few questions in the Q&A, just on overall booth. Is there space for me to bring stuff in like swag or, like newsstands or plants or whatever it may be? So as long as it fits within the footprint of your booth, you can bring it in. Some of you are bringing more team members versus less items. Some of you are bringing more items versus less team members. So it really depends on how you plan on staffing your booth. It's something to think about. Like a gold will comfortably fit 2 to 3 people at once. More than that, it gets really cramped. So I would keep that in mind. Super gold, you can fit quite a bit more, especially because you do have this communal table here. Like obviously, like half your AEs can take up this side, and like 2 more people can fit here, and like you can fit somebody on the side. So like if you wanted to max out the people, you could easily do like 5 or 6 on rotation, and but then like you'd have no space for like other stuff. Like if you want to put some swag on this table or whatever. So it's really, again, personal preference by sponsor of like what you're trying to activate. But it does, just as a rough rule, need to fit within the parameters of your booth so that your neighbors don't yell at you. Because most of you will have neighbors. Some of you will not have neighbors.
Can I just
Most of you.
call out something
Yeah.
real fast? I've been getting this question a lot, and so if you're just tuning in, real quick, just everyone dial into this answer real fast because I'm getting it a ton. In the spec document we sent you is the instructions on how to submit your specs.
Correct.
Many of you are emailing the sales team your specs. Your sales team has the ability to do anything with them. Please.
Well, your sales team just can't name your files for you. So
Right.
yeah, it's better if you follow
It's better that you name your files. It's better that you submit them. It also, when you submit them according to the instructions there, they go directly to the printer. Like it doesn't even, like, how do I know, Brian, that it got submitted? Because you put them in that folder. Like that's the answer. They're there, therefore we have them, therefore they're there. So please just go in and you can submit them right there. It's a drop link folder.
You can do it now.
Really easy. Anyway, sorry, I just wanted to go over that. I'm getting that question.
No, it's a good call out as we wrap up booths since I was on the platinums. Anywho.
Yes,
anyway, when you click the booth specs, the full booth specs are there. It does say how to submit it. Also, we dropped it into these slides to make it easier for y'all. So on these slides, there's like this handy little link. It says to submit your artwork, please upload it here. So you're going to click that link. And you're going to follow the instructions that are on our slides and in your booth spec to put in your email, and then you're going to select your file. So it really is that easy. You're going to put your name, and then once you submit your files, they'll know what company it is because it'll say your name on the booth and also in your email. But yes, you do need to name them. Sorry, I hate Google Slides. These specific things. So like for a platinum, right, you need to name your panels. Oh no, why is it doing that? You need to name your panels. Which one? I'm going to pause right there. You need to name your panel, which one is which, because otherwise we won't know. Like, is this your front? Is this your back? Tell us. So, yes, name your files accordingly and then hit that link. I'm going to drop it in the chat right now, actually, just to make it easier for everyone in life.
Boom.
Hold on. To everyone. Okay, you've got the link there. Yes. Yeah, please don't say our team doesn't know how to name your files. We don't know which one is front, back, or left. You tell us.
We don't know what we had for breakfast. There's a little bit of that too. So
well, made me think for a second. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. There's one more related booth question I'll answer here live. Does SaaStr have an approved list of vendors for printing swag or merch? How long does the turnaround time take? So you do, for merch and like swag in particular, you do not need to use an approved vendor. You can use whomever you'd like. And depending on your vendor, their turnaround times will vary. I will say highly recommend doing that this week if you've already submitted your booth, or like the moment after you submit your booth, just because like post-COVID, I'll put in air quotes, turnaround times for shipping just in general have gotten really long, as well as production times. And so to avoid any rush fees, I highly recommend reaching out to whatever vendor for swag you like, and getting a quote from them. If you need to do something quick and you're like, oh shoot, I haven't thought about this, and like now I need to do it now. There are a few vendors that we've used in the past that you can certainly use. It doesn't mean they're approved. SaaStr tries to be agnostic about all things in life. Non-vendor conference, because we don't have a software. But if you do need some swag, there's a few ones that you can use. I mean, you can honestly Vistaprint something that's usually pretty quick. They do have merchandise for merch. If you want to bring like a roll up because it fits within the confines of your booth, again, you can do that through something like a Vistaprint or like a 4imprint. It just has to fit in the confines of your booth, not outside the lines of your booth, inside the lines of your booth. So yeah, you can totally use something like a Vistaprint or a 4imprint. It's pretty fast. They have like rush order ones. If you're looking for more like shirts and stuff, we've used people like Merchology. We've used rush order tees, rushordertees.com people. It's a great company. We've used them for some things and they are, to their name, really fast. That's all shirts though. Like if you're looking for like super custom apparel, that really depends on what you're looking for. And that usually has like a longer turnaround time. So like some of the normalish stuff like shirts, like smaller swag items, you can get through one of those vendors. I'm sure there are others. Those are just some of the ones we've used because you've asked. And their turnaround time depends on what it is.
I will say, just as a note on swag that I've been giving everyone, just since we brought it up, if you're gonna do something fun if you're gonna do like a special swag item for SaaStr, do something fun, do something that stands out. Everyone's getting the same water bottle otherwise, so like,
yeah, it's true.
Logo, like I think when swag is done correctly, I have some that I like use in my like everyday travel or everyday life. Like when swag's done correctly, it's timeless. Like it just keeps being used. So try to think outside the box. It doesn't need to be the same old. Everyone's got, I think at this point, the Yeti water bottle. So anyway.
Yeah, it's a good call out. Like SaaStr does have swag in the swag store. So like we do like tote bags, water bottles, t-shirts. I was not thinking this would turn into a swag conversation, but I like it.
I've seen really cool things like anywhere from like duffel bags to
that takes longer though, usually. Yeah.
Yeah. I saw wooden sunglasses last year. Like there's some cooler.
We saw like radio flyer, what's frisbees? I'm like, what's the word?
Frisbee. Yeah, there's some frisbee. Yeah, like there's some just cool
like
items.
Picnic blankets. Like we are outside, so yeah, definitely last year. We could do a swag deep dive next week as well. That's a good call out, guys. Like we've seen people, again, some of these have longer lead times. So like a custom duffel bag is longer than like a t-shirt, which most people can do on a rush order.
Someone asked me about bringing in having an artist, as long as it stayed in the confines of their booth, if they could do an artist and then like ship the
like
art
caricatures.
Yeah,
we've had people in the past do like, not like specific swag activations, but like activations. So like caricatures, or like Rex has had a magician for many years. Some people have done like the artist thing of like they'll bring in an artist and like give you the thing. We've had people do like the silhouette of like cut out silhouettes. So yeah, if it fits in the confines of your booth and you're thinking of doing it, do let our sponsor success team know, because if you're going to bring a magician, the magician needs a badge,
He does.
Your artist needs a badge. If there's anything like they need power, or like your artist needs like access to water for any watercolors, like do let us know if you're going to bring in that part of activation. It doesn't always have to be a strict apparel item, which is a good call out.
Okay.
Food for thought, but we can do a deep dive next week. That's a good one.
Yeah.
All right. So we haven't said it enough in the last 30 minutes. Your booth graphics today by 5 p.m. There's just 5 people who have an exception, so they know who they are. The next thing that will be due after your booth graphics, for those who have content, so super goals and up, who do have content, your slides are due next Wednesday. So next Wednesday, August 3rd, you have another deadline upcoming for slides. So I dropped in a few do's and don'ts here. You guys should have the full speaker brief, which is actually even more in depth. I do want to get into all of it here because it's lengthy, but basically do send your slides next week so that we can review them. The sooner, the better. Doesn't mean you cannot start submitting earlier. But we do need your slides, and slides are required. So yes, they are required. So that's your next thing. next thing to do after you've submitted your booths and sent us your slides is to register your team for annual. Some of you have done this. Some of you did it after the webinar last week. So thanks to those who did that. Hoping some of you do that this week after this week's webinar. Do register your team for SaaStr annual. Really important. We want to get you guys all in. Otherwise, we'll start counting you. We're trying to get an accurate count of, everyone as a sponsor has a certain allotment. We're trying to see who's actually over, under, below, so that we can make sure we have like coffee and food for all of you, which I'm sure you want. So. But that as a last call out, not to overwhelm you all with to-dos, but some of you have given us your customer list of customers who would like to invite to SaaStr Annual. Thank you for doing that. Those are going to get uploaded on a weekly basis, usually on Thursdays. So for those who have sent yours, we'll send you like a little confirmation once they've been ticketed tomorrow, because tomorrow's Thursday. For those who haven't done this yet, we do need this in the next week. Well, you said the 31st.
I just want to call that out. So
You're pressuring people, Brian.
We did put pressure on this. We are able to extend it. People did ask. Actually, I want to say thank you, because many of the sponsors have been reaching out here and like they're actively working on it. You have your sales teams going after it. So like, thanks. That's awesome. I've seen some of the lists, and the names that are being put in are really good people. Like, these are people that everyone wants to meet, not just you guys, which is, I think, great. So thank you for taking the time and making sure that you have great people coming. Yes, I think we can push this out. Amelia, I will openly say I did tell some people that the absolute deadline for this would be August 12th.
All right.
Absolute deadline.
Absolute drop dead.
Drop dead on the 12th. It's 2 weeks from now. It should give you all like a kickoff into August, but then the 12th. So please, if you can by the 12th, this affects a lot of things. So, a lot of you, but if you can imagine, it affects the amount of food we have to order, affects the amount of badges we need to order, affects everything. So like anything that somebody's getting on site, it affects that. So we need to have the lead time. We can't do this up to the day before. That would be insanity. Yeah. So please be mindful of that. But we want to have, and also be mindful that your customer, for the most part, if they're not in the Bay Area, has to travel. So
yeah, so you might want to give them a heads up.
I want to give them a heads up.
You might want to give them a heads up.
Yeah, anyway, so that's yeah. But thank you to everyone that's been doing this. I think that for those of you that are doing this, you're going to see the return by doing it. I am banking on that. This will really make annual that much more special for you all.
Yes, agreed. So yeah, again, you don't have to do this if you're like, I don't want to invite my customers. I only want to talk to new people. Said no one ever. It's not mandatory. It's just if you do want to invite up to 10 customers to SaaStr on us, some of you have done this already. So thank you for doing that and sending us your customer lists so that you can set meetings with them. We just figured we're trying this as an experiment. We hadn't done this before, which is why we do have a deadline around it, because I have no estimate for how many people are going to do this. And there's a lot of you as sponsors. So the sooner you can do it, the better. Not to say that your customers still can't like buy a ticket and meet you at SaaStr after this date. It's just, it won't be free, which is, free to you as a sponsor, not free to SaaStr. We are doing this as an added value. And yes, every person who comes, says there is a cost per attendee. So
it's not even like a
use this. Use this. Yeah, it's not low. So use this. Plus inflation, guys. Like, inflation sucks. So definitely use this.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. I think that's what we want to hit. Thanks for bearing with us. I know it's a little longer, but hopefully we answered most of the booth questions along the way. Let me see if we have any other questions. I know we answered a lot of them, and Brian was fiercely typing.
I know. I was going. Can you please confirm the vaccine requirements? My notes from 2 calls ago say option 3 is no vaccine, but COVID within 270 days. No. All right, hold on.
Hold on. I'm going to pull it up.
Yes.
Because that was a complicated question too. So just to restate the question, and I do welcome any other follow-up questions on our health and safety guidelines. So let me share my screen here. They are on SaaStrannual.com. But if you have not seen them because you've been in booth graphics land, these are our health and safety guidelines. So one, you need to do one of these three things, and it is required. So one, either been boosted whenever. For those who went to Europa, we had like a day requirement for being in Europe. That's not the case with the annual, so just boost it at any time. So anytime you got either a second or a third, depending on what your shot is. If you got boosted, baby, you're in, like, you're good. If you've not gotten boosted because you just got your vax in the last 270 days, meaning you're not eligible to get boosted yet, that's okay too. So if you relate to the party for a number of reasons and you just got vaccinated in the last 270 days, that's okay. So that's option two, either boosted or you just got, like, you're fully vaxxed recently. The third option is actually received a vaccination plus a recovery letter instead of a booster. So it's not an either or kind of thing. It's if you have received your vaccination recently and you do have a recovery certificate, most doctors don't want you to get a booster if you just had the COVID. They want you to wait to get your booster. So if that's you, then send us your recovery certificate. The best way to get a very specific answer on your specific COVID vaccination status is to email our health and safety team. That is registration@SaaStrinc.com, or you can do annual@SaaStrinc.com. They both go to the same place. Some of you have already been emailing these teams. Either one works, it goes to the same place. If you've got a very specific question and you want them to take a look at it, just to be super sure, those are the people to ask. That's our health and safety team we've had for 2 years now, and they'll get you the answer. The best people to ask. They know more than I do on COVID. So that's one on vaccinations. Two, we are also requiring, these are all stacking, not either or, proof of negative COVID test within 72 hours of entrance for all in-person attendees. There will be testing available on site. So if you're coming for like sponsor load-in day on Sunday or Monday, the lines are not going to be that long. But if you come, on Tuesday, which is day one of annual, lines are going to be longer and you're going to wait. So highly recommend, as a sponsor, you have everyone come in and either bring your test with you, which you can do, or get tested on the sponsor load-in days before everyone else shows up to annual. And yes, person who was asking, we need COVID tests regardless of vaccine requirements. Yes, it is not either or, these are stacking. So it's vax plus negative test. Plus we're going to do passive temperature checks each day of the event so that no one comes sick.
Okay.
Okay.
Lots of questions still coming in. I'm glad.
That's
good.
fine.
We means people are paying attention. We have not selected our booth. Have you sent communication about it? All right. So look, we're on wave 3, which means that if you've not heard from us yet, we're on wave 3. There's several waves. We do this by contract signature date. So if you
I will say it's been going faster than it was originally scheduled to.
Much faster, much faster. It's because everyone's been on top of it, which we appreciate. So the answer is, as soon as your wave is up, you will receive an email from us, and your sales team, if you have not engaged, if you've not selected, if you're not responding, we're also going to engage. We want to make sure that you're set to go. So they're 100%. We're on top of it. If you've not received it yet, don't fret. We're only on wave 3. So that is that one. Any info about parking pass costs? Amelia.
Yeah, this well, depending on where, if you're coming in just for load-in, is this question just for load-in, or is this question for the whole conference?
Let's just do both.
Okay. If you are local and or renting a car because you have a lot of swag and you're like, we're just gonna drive over, or there's a lot of you at one hotel that's not near the shuttle and you want to drive over instead of Ubering, because Ubers it does surge price. I think we talked about this last week. It does surge price for rideshare around SaaStr. It's that big enough where, sometimes a rental car is actually cheaper than Ubering your team back and forth on this. In terms of parking, we will have this information in the next couple weeks. We're actually trying to see if we can fit everyone on site to avoid parking fees and extra shuttles. So TBD, but hopefully good news there. Related question on when will the shuttle schedule be released? That's usually about 2 weeks before the event. Might be sooner. again, it's just a matter of how many people we can park on site. Because there was, I don't know if you guys came last year. I think you were there, Laura. There was some construction stuff going around San Mateo that is now done, which does free up some of the space that we couldn't use last year for parking, which affects what we're trying to do this year. So to come soon. We'll definitely cover it on this webinar once we have it.
This is a good question. The Super Gold sponsorship have a speaking slot, so I can understand.
Not all of them.
I understand why this is a confusing question. The early Super Golds, the ones that signed up early, the first, I forget how many, it was the first allotment had attendance.
Allotment, yeah.
The upgrades that we have left now do not. They're booth upgrades. You know, we only have a limited quantity of speaking sessions every year, which is a great point to say that we will have renewals. About 30% of our renewals will be done within 30 days after SaaStr annual. So if you're, and Super Gold by far is the first booth to get picked. So if you want to have a spot next year, keep that in mind, and you might want to plan ahead to secure that. And the best way to secure that would be to be one of the first people to say, yep, me, please, me, and that would help you. Okay, that is that answer. Have details for advanced shipping been emailed out?
Yes. If for some reason you haven't gotten it, just email sponsor success. It's in like the folder.
It's in the
It's not in the booth. Yeah, it's in the exhibitor kit. It's not in the booth flicks because that's just for the artwork. It's in the larger exhibitor kit that you guys got. I know it's kind of long, but it is
long,
in there. It's
long,
but it's in there.
Okay. When do registrations start?
Oh, good question. Okay, so we will cover swag next week, since a few of you guys have been asking about that, and like activations. That's a good topic for next week. We will also cover brain dates next week before they launch, because they will be launching at the end of next week. So we'll give you guys a deep dive before they launch so that you know how they all work before it goes live. So great question. The answer is next week. Come back to the webinar.
Okay, and then any information about lead scanners yet?
Yes, we internally just reviewed all the information on lead scanners. We are not releasing this to you guys yet because your booth graphics are due. And then if you have content, your slides are due the week after. So plan on not the next webinar, but the webinar after to be more around lead scanners. We don't want to hit you guys with everything at once on like the licenses, because you'll need to send us all that too. We try and keep it to we already have a lot of CTAs. You got to submit your booth, you got to register your team, you got to tell your customers are coming, you got to submit your content. So we're trying to limit it so that, you know, after everyone gets their booth and everyone gets their content, then we'll move on to sessions.
Right.
It's a lot for you guys to keep track of.
All right, lastly, what time on Monday can we arrive to set up?
I'm going to show you guys the full schedule. How about that? So on Sunday, if you're coming to set up, you can set up from 12:30 to 4:30. Registration will be open, health and safety will be open. So this is a good time if you're in town or if you're flying in early, because we want to, I will say this too. A lot of flights, as you guys have probably known, if you've gone back to travel, have been getting delayed, missed. Things that are not like direct flights have screwed up schedules. Our team, when we just went to Europa, some of us got there during Europa instead of before. Flight travel is a little crazy right now. So I recommend, if you can, getting in early just to buffer yourself a day so that you don't show up to annual, at least someone on your team is there to anchor annual, because there will be flight delays. So we are open Sunday for this reason, because I know a lot of people are trying to come in early now, just with all the craziness in air traffic travel. So we're open 12:30 to 4:30. You can, Reg is open, health and safety is open, the sponsor hall is open. You can come get tested, you can come get your badges, you can come set up your booth, you can be all set up Sunday. If you're coming in Monday, we're open for a lot longer because it's the main load-in day. So we are open from 11 to 6 on Monday. So same thing, sponsor hall is open, Reg is open, health and safety is open. Everyone can come get their badges. Question we've gotten before that I'm gonna address now: can I pick up my badges for somebody else on my team? No, your team has to come get their badges individually, especially because they're gonna individually get checked for their COVID and vaccine requirements. So you cannot be like, I have Brian's COVID card here, I'm going to check him in. No, they have to show up themselves. So you do have to show up yourself.
Yes, indeed. Yes.
Yes, show up as you. So that's Monday. Tuesday, we start coming in to actual show days. So we are open early these days before the attendees come for about an hour. So you can come starting at 7:30. Attendees really won't be coming until 8:30 or 9. So you've got about a 90-minute buffer there. And then same thing on the other days. You can come 7:30 on the mornings of to come if you have any last minute people, or if you've got new people who are not switching, but taking over shifts in your sponsor booths. There's that. So last question we've got here, and then we will wrap unless there are any other questions. Can we do COVID testing on Sunday on premises? Yes. So yeah, that's what we mean by health and safety will be open. We'll have testing available starting Sunday. So Sunday through the event, you can come early as a sponsor, you can get your badge, you can get tested, and you can get all cleared, presumably, enter the event. If you're worried about it because your team is traveling, what we found in Europa is you can do just an over-the-counter test, the Abbott ones, the rapid test, any of the tests that you get at like CVS, Walgreens, your pharmacy of choice that you like, your local drugstore. You can do that and test before you get on the plane. You can test when you get there and bring it with you. You can do this too. Some people did, flying's no risk. So just if you want to be super sure that like the team that you're sending will get in, I just recommend testing them before they get on the plane, so that you're sure they'll be able to, come to SaaStr. What we would hate is for your team to wait, I'll get tested on site, and then you're all sick, which would be terrible. Then you can't come into SaaStr, or you all get delayed with like crazy plane delays. So yeah, I guess a little stressful planning like the logistics, but definitely book your travel and hotels if you haven't already, and try and go direct if you can. It does seem to help. I know California is a little far from the East Coast, as Brian knows, but if at all possible, the least amount of stops for air travel right now, the better. And leave some room for swag. Like I've honestly had people like shift stuff back to the shipping company because they've gotten so much swag from their team, or like stuff that they wanted in the Bay Area. That takes longer. So,
It does.
Anyway, it does. All right. I think there are a number of questions. So hopefully we answered them all. We answered 40 questions. So hopefully that was helpful. That's pretty good, Brian. Good job.
We rocked it.
40 questions. All right. Booth graphics due by 5 p.m. Answered a lot of questions. Thanks for submitting them. And if you have something else you want to see on next week's webinar other than swag and like brain dates and stuff, let us know. We are amenable to feedback.
Send us customers that you want to come. Don't forget.
No, send us your booth graphics.
Send it. Oh yeah, booth
Send
graphics.
us your booth graphics.
Send it. I'm just, yeah. All right. Lots of work to do. Thanks everyone. See you.
Booth graphics, go.
Hey, booth graphics, bye.
Okay, bye. Bye everyone.